Welcome everyone to this live stream, in case we are live, but it looks like we are live here from, as usual, a quick summary. What have we done actually this week? And so much happens this week. What have we even done? Let's check. One was the last news, Core X and macOS, which was actually pre-recorded and just leftover video material, and then of course Toronto. And also I was thinking how to improve this format to actually go a little bit faster through the news, and maybe we decrease high DPI scaling, not. And then let's see if we can keep this going here as long as the battery lasts and such. So as I said, I thought maybe to go faster through this news, and also this week really a lot happened, so that I'm actually did not even save all the news bits this week because it actually just were too many. And also obviously I was traveling here, still traveling, business travel, and there you see ambition, motivation, traveling here with all the camera gear, you name it. Let's just check here what we show. We show something. Anyway, welcome everyone to this amazing time zone. So yeah, first of all, of course, for the people who have not seen my other breaking news video, CPU fail, new 3 or maybe 5 or something Intel vulnerabilities. I will only mention this briefly, otherwise you can watch this previous video, obviously. And yeah, ZOMBIELOAD, RIDL and Fallout, plus store to leak forwarding and meltdown UC. And I need opinion. They are all a little bit hard to exploit, meaning you need to have local programs running, and as far as I understand, quite some CPU cycles to burn there to do the timing attack, to actually sniff enough bits there. As I said, 1 bit at a time. Of course, this is using a lot of timing details and cache loading and speculative execution. I will probably make a dedicated video, but for all of you who are interested in this, you can watch the previous video and read this detailed papers in detail. But as I said, I will most likely in a week or so make a more detailed video about how this actually works also. So ZOMBIELOAD is actually loading zombie values in either the L1 cache or some load buffer. And yes, I'm in Canada right now. RIDL is RIDL, whatever this allows leak of information across various security domains, different buffers, such as line fill buffers. Yeah, right. I think ZOMBIELOAD was also line fill. Anyway, yeah. Modern security vulnerabilities, not real without fancy names. Obviously, more details coming. Then in other news, which is probably related to this one, let's move this here one up to the front. Intel fixes, and as usual, I translate here on the fly. Welcome Christian Everson. Who goes to bed? You go to bed or I go to bed, because here local time is only something like 18 something here, according to, if you don't want to show, yeah, so 1923 local time. Nothing too bad here, but I need to have dinner eventually and grab a beer or something. So Intel fixes security, the help me, management engine, obviously, where all the remote exploits happen nowadays. And yes, thank you for the recommendation. I read it already. I try to actually I could try this tonight. We will see. Anyway, are you in Canada or Toronto or somewhere else? So yeah, and you see not only CPUs, also BIOS, management engine, and Linux-Grafiktreiber, and also noteworthy that, okay, this is a little bit more slightly semi-professional website, but then you also get Linux news. And yeah, I said this already, Linux graphics stack super complicated, so complicated that even I don't like to find bugs there or implement features. This is why we do our vintage minimalistic stack from scratch. And one is here probably remote exploitable, this Intel SA 00213 SVE 2019-10153 and such. And yeah, you see how many this are: Intel NUC, Intel i9-15 graphics, Linux advisory, UEFI and QSR, whatever, something, Intel SP, TXE, whatever, DAL, you name it. So here it is, as usual, we probably at some point of time, I don't even need to call out this anymore because security vulnerabilities each and every day. But this is just why we really need more secure software. We will have plenty of more security details, vulnerabilities in this week's news. So stay tuned for those. I wonder at which point of time we can stop announcing them, as many as there are. But on the other hand, it's probably still noteworthy to call them out also. In some news, maybe I took this here. So in some news somewhere on the interwebs, there was news that Intel wants to do modern firmware, because many people probably agree that EFI and ACPI are way too complex, and then you get thrilled and excited when you read such news like this, and then you go here and figure out that this is still EFI based. You really wonder what is modern firmware if it's still the same old piece of crap or so that they already shipped before. So it's the same Tiano Core EFI implementation open source that we had already before, that many BIOSes are based on, that QEMU EFI implementation is based on. They say your objectives, high level, modern, yeah, I mean, not modern, it's still EFI, but anyway, native 64-bit boot process. Actually, I'm pretty sure that the UEFI is already 64-bit, but whatever, just enough firmware to boot and self-maintain. This actually sounds nice. I'm myself slightly irritated that the post time on modern BIOSes like our AMD Ryzen build is so long in general. Eliminate legacy device types, yeah, also never a bad thing. You even had security vulnerabilities in the floppy emulation of QEMU, so yeah, minimal emulated and virtual device support sounds a little bit. In some ways this could be shared with QEMU, right? QEMU KVM, they have already virtual device supports. I wonder a little bit, I mean, basically this is really nothing new. Sometimes I really wonder if they really need news just to be in the news, because, but leave me in the comments below. Maybe this is just some of this EFI packages deleted, but otherwise, yeah, not really that newsworthy something. Any shout out, I hope you like it. As always, leave me in the comments what you think. From the same news on the interwebs, by the way, did I even switch? Probably I forgot to switch. Why is nobody saying a word here? I of course need to switch to this camera view. Thanks for monitoring this so closely. So Rust VMM, virtual machine monitor or something, also from Intel, probably maybe from similar news. Let's see, where is this even? Are this all the sub-projects or repositories? Wait a second, where is even the... why is this not a main source repository? People, projects, where is then even the main repository? Anyway, Intel is working on Rust-based virtual machine stuff, which is also not a bad idea, as much as I don't like the cargo micro package management stuff there. But for the rest of this, of course, not too bad. Just trying to figure out where actually this stuff is. So they have here a VirtIO implementation that I wanted to make a video about also. Where is even branch code warriors here? The code not so visible. Commits is here only the one initial commit is here even. Why is here no source tree? Or is my zoom level too large that this is stupid? No, but it says here, wait a second, is this somehow empty and nothing? Waypo is just a readme.md. Modern announcements, so much too. Anyway, they apparently do something, no idea if here's already something. Maybe this here Rust VMM container. Maybe this is actually, will all dependency required, what somehow. Anyway, why is this so empty? This is so, you collect news and then you open this, so much to reviewing this in detail. But yeah, whatever, I hope. Anyway, so they announced there's something, although I don't really see sources here that much, but whatever, I hope there will eventually be something. In any case, As much as I don't like Rust, of course it has some valuable features for memory safety and so on, even though I don't like the build system and micropackage stuff around it. But let's see what is coming. There's so much to announce something and then you don't see there's something. Let's continue to the next news, slightly related to my travel. Wonder how I should fly back, because hackers can fake radio signals to hijack aircraft landing systems, warns researchers, probably this ILS or something. But hackers could potentially change course of flights using 600 worth of commercially available equipment. But this is certainly not, wait a second, can't continue reading this because I'm in Canada, or what? Copyright paywall. Anyway, so maybe if you open it somehow you can read it. But this is certainly not a surprise for anyone with some radio frequency background that you can fake signals. In general, probably everyone knows already that you can also fake GPS, spoof GPS. So not a surprise that if you have some radio frequency antenna thing next to the airport and broadcast there to the same directions, that you can irritate planes while landing. But yeah, wonder how you could. The problem is, of course, that even if you make this secure and sign it and such, encrypted, you can still always, with enough power, jam the signal anyway. So yeah, pilots probably better hope how to land manually. Anyway, I hope for my flight back soon. A billion open interfaces for Eve and Mallory. What? Man-in-the-middle attack of denial of service of iOS, macOS through Apple Wireless Direct Link. If you don't know what Apple Wireless Direct Link is, that is a protocol that they use for AirDrop, for sharing files, and probably maybe other things, like maybe announcing the AirPlay audio protocol or something. And so as usual, if you keep this stuff secret and just hope that nobody reverse engineers this, when someone takes a closer look, then they eventually find issues. So much to standards should be open, like PDF and wireless and such, Wi-Fi as it, and security by obscurity is never a good idea, never works. Usually if the people there at Apple in the garage or in the toilet invent this there on the lunch breaks, then usually there are security vulnerabilities, no surprise there. The biggest thing here is also that this comes with an open source implementation. So I think, not sure if it's listed here somewhere, but there is now some open device link thing. So maybe you can now airdrop files from Linux maybe. Not sure, I've not looked in this intensively, but I would think that you probably could. But if you want to read the paper, always suggested here to read the papers, study it, learn something. And if you want to, doesn't load though, if you have inside knowledge there, if you read this paper, if you have more knowledge to share, always drop a note here. Welcome to Xutku. Thanks God tomorrow is no school, right? And don't ever miss school due to my live streams here. Not that you blame your teacher here on my YouTube channel, but otherwise thanks for any share, like and subscribe, and certainly tuning in and watching. Then this news here I stumbled upon through the Dragonfly BSD of all websites. They have some Dragonfly digest or something, and they call here exactly out what I called out. Did I make a video about this? At least I probably mentioned this in the Rust video, where I called out that I don't like the Rust advertisement there of curl Rust cargo come install something. Piping this, I really don't like this remote code execution. This is of course remote code execution at its finest, and when I discussed this on Reddit or this German Heise forum, people always said, nah, if you execute this as root you are stupid and so on. But even if you execute this not as root but as your user, it can still delete all your files or send all your data away. Don't really understand how this makes this better. In case of Rust, of course, you eventually need to authenticate as root if you want to install Rust system-wide. And this is exactly what I'm really thankful that other people, of course I knew in the Reddit and Heise discussion that there were other people that were thinking like me, that thought this is too insecure, too dangerous, especially to educate, to motivate people to actually do this. And Yeah, he says the same. I think basically standard man-in-the-middle text. This is also this website can expire. You know how often even at Apple and Google security certificates expire. Even websites, even the BSIP2 website went away because original open source developers did not prolong this. And this can also, even in Rust case, maybe some private developer there at whoever's garage at Google or wherever forgets to prolong the domain or moves away or credit card cancels and something, and then people, maybe 10,000 of people install there some malware Rust version with this and their hidden text. And it can also be, this can also be partial download, executing their half stuff, run complete havoc due to this, or you execute here, there is some server error or gateway error or whatever, and you execute here some random garbage, where also imagine there's some error message and does some random stuff, happens here like rm whatever, partial content returned by server and so on. Also simple matter of knowing what script is going to do. This is also what I said when I said this. Everyone told me, yeah, you trust the Rust people anyway. What is the difference if you manual paste there? But the difference is if I read the install instruction and I follow them manually, at least I know what I'm doing and I'm reviewing this. So basically a lot of stuff that what I always called out here, and here is Rust up, exactly what I said. And yeah, all the same. And this is, of course, in a way really stupid. All the modern more memory secure language and Docker container stuff and exactly those. I mean, unless you run them in a virtual machine. But anyway, this is such a piece of bullshit. Yeah, leave me in the comments what you think about this. And I just wanted to use this opportunity, as I stumbled upon this already accidentally. Just use this opportunity to call this out again, because in my opinion, you can never call this out again. I also don't like this Hackintosh stuff. When I Hackintosh for some testing and development, I always do this manually. I really don't like this Hackintosh installer that do all the tricks behind the back, and then you don't know what all the, maybe even, all the Hackintosh is of course totally insecure, because you can never be sure what kind of malware and viruses are packed in there. Next is here Chromium. Google I/O happened. Probably not so much is new. I probably mostly had this here because there was, I checked this already, it's not written in here, but some other news site had written that they announced probably somehow that they continue Android, and this Fuchsia or whatever operating system is this this will stay independent. It's not mentioned in this site, but I read this somewhere. This is a major thing that I wanted to mention. And otherwise, what is here, delivers great image loading experience with lazy loading of images, iframe. By the way, there was, now I remember, there was also Portals. Not sure if this is, let's see if this is Portal, Tils. Yeah, here, Portals. Portals API. So speaking of navigation, Portals, a new technology that, excuse me, they believe will fundamentally change the way users traverse the web, because they want to replace this iframes, making it easier to embed subframes like iframes here, similar to iframes, and allow content to be embedded directly into the page. But unlike standard iframes, they can be activated to become the top level page and so on, blah, blah, blah. The problem, of course, yeah, the web certainly needs some development. Problem is, of course, everything becomes more complex. You saw this in my videos. Chrome becomes slower, Firefox becomes slower. Firefox needs Rust, Node.js, and compiles an hour and such. And yeah, in my opinion, all the software gets too complex. Also, then everyone needs to implement what Google puts out there. But yeah, time will of course show how amazing this will become. So this is probably the major callouts here. And what is here? Chrome user experience report, something, and so on, latest speed report, and something, search console. Yeah, you name it. So Portal's the biggest thing, and they probably mentioned that they will continue Android and not their Fuchsia thing will somehow be some other experimental stuff, just like our experimental stuff that we need to continue. Then some very old news, because you have seen in my other videos I had the Sony Vaio P, super compact, ultra portable something, road warrior thing that I eventually want to use as soon as I find some spare hour to play more with this, with Musel, Ceiling, T2, whatsoever. But I only wanted to call out here. I have done this with a Nokia booklet where you couldn't enable this virtualization technology. And why do I have this 10-year-old, nearly 10-year-old news here? First of all, I checked that this old Sony thing has EFI, and it apparently indeed has. I think I already, as far as I remember, test booted before I flew away, test booted some EFI thing on this 10-year-old ultra portable thing. That was, of course, good test to install something modern. But I also wanted to share here that you can manipulate some features. That is a big call out here. I didn't know this, so probably this is in grub. So if you boot grub 2, I guess, in EFI mode, there's some setup var thing for this modern EFI variables, and apparently you can manipulate here some BIOS variables. Of course, don't do this randomly, but apparently sometimes you can enable features here like Intel VT, virtualization technology, but maybe also other things like AHCI, Advanced Host Control Interface, therefore Serial ATA, the native Serial ATA mode, but also potentially other things like nowadays. But don't try this just here randomly, just that you are aware that you can unlock this, because on the Nokia booklet I actually flashed a Russian hacker manipulated BIOS just to unlock VT, Intel VT. It's also a scandal, of course. It's not a developer machine and high performance machine, but in my opinion also a scandal that vendors disable features, hardware features that are integrated and just don't have a BIOS option to enable this. In my opinion, this is not user friendly, and you pay for something that you can't use. Really not very nice. In other news, Facebook defends itself against calling for its breakup, like success should not be penalized. They quote here, "Yeah, what a surprise, as if any other company that was supposed to be broken up, like the AT&T Bell thing or whatever that was, and electricity company and whatnot, you name it, and Big Oil and Pan Am or I don't know what, not a expert in breaking up companies, but what a breaking news, as if a company would say, yes, please break us up. That is a big thing we have waited for. Of course, everyone will always say, please don't break us up. The idea is stupid. Just wanted to call this out, like, I mean, no shit, Sherlock, as if someone would want to be broken up. I mean, what waste of news-worthy something reporting here. Anyway, in other news, more security vulnerabilities, and yeah, of course, Cisco security vulnerability of the week, because probably this will become the running gig here. I'm not really sure why someone still buys Cisco products. Apparently they are from top to bottom, from left to right, from inside out, in the firmware and OS and everywhere. Apparently, at least due to their track record here, security vulnerabilities all over the place. This time SSH key management, because you can never have two broken, and probably presence of a default SSH key pair. So just in case you wondered what kind of telco equipment there is on the cellular towers and your internet backbone next to you, just with the right NSA key 2 or something, backdoor or you name it. Don't need Huawei for this. You can also buy Cisco for your local remote code execution and government agency login credentials pre-installed. In other news, also security related, because why not, WhatsApp voice calls used to inject Israeli spyware on phones. Also no surprise there, but recurring theme here. Not really sure, as I said initially, is it worth to call out all the insecurities, but maybe in a way it is, because if I don't call them out, maybe you miss half of them, as many as they are. And of course, this is only the tip of the iceberg here. I can't call out all of them. I can only call out the major ones. And this happened here in some bug apparently in the call handling. So apparently it didn't even have to ring, or malicious code developed by the secretive Israel company NSO group or something could be transmitted even if the user didn't answer their phone, and calls disappeared from the call logs, said the spyware dealer who recently briefed on the WhatsApp leak. So blah blah blah. Hey, is this University of Toronto? Is this just next door here? Researchers at Citizen Lab said they believed that the spyware attack on Sunday was linked to the technology development of blah blah blah, 1 billion leverage buyout of involved UK profit. Anyway, yeah, you name it. In also probably we want to use, I mean, this is already Facebook anyway, right? Who would want to use this? Probably you shouldn't if you value your privacy. And yeah, probably, by the way, leave me in the comments below what Signal, what messenger voice calling thing you like most. Signal, Telegram, what other was there? Something, certainly not WhatsApp, but yeah, also we for sure need some open source. Right, the other was Open Whisper Systems, right? But anyway, even some of them have a little bit strange history, but leave me in the comments below what you trust most, what you suggest, what you found most usable. But in general, maybe this kind of vital security base infrastructure should be open source to be reviewable and not full with beginner intern has written this call code on their internships there or something kind of quality. And also, in my opinion, I think software this has filters there for pretty smiling with bunny ears and a long tongue and nose and whatnot, and then it's full with security vulnerabilities, because why concentrate on the vital things? Probably recurring theme. In my opinion, we probably would be better off with more stable, minimalistic, but really working and bug and security proof software instead of this huge things that do everything, including image and video filters, you probably name it. In other news, because I said already in the beginning, this is vulnerability week, Google disclosed a security bug in its Bluetooth Titan security key, offers free replacement. Yeah, so not even Google can do security keys, right? Apparently, probably they sourced this only. Like in this other last week's news, we had ABUS or whatever that was. Something of that sort. There's some German company who could not even reach the supplier because the supplier closed or was sold or moved or I don't know what. And this is of course a problem. Not sure, I have not researched this. By the way, they call this T1 and T2, which is of course pretty many projects nowadays are called T2, named T2. This is not very nice for our T2 SDE, most amazing open source Linux distribution built from source. You know it probably already, but yeah, 50 bucks they solved this, and standard USB NFC key, and yeah, had a bug as usual. Not really sure if they contracted this or sourced this. Probably should have read the news here before this. Found something, wrote Google uncertainties, whatever. Anyway, if you know if Google developed them themselves or if they just resold them, let me know. Purism, comments and audience. Purism released Librem 1. It's donation based, but it doesn't have much uses for. No, I have to stick with WhatsApp because everyone's using it. Yeah, so I will probably, I need to check. I probably want, because you've seen, not faking this here. The last video was even shot with S10e, because so this for this live stuff I even carry the Lumix G7 here around with a HDMI capture thing here, you name it, because image quality of the not as much used image thing here, but why not, right? If you have your already studio equipment, why not carry it around and use what you know to use and so on. But in any case, just here on the go, I use WhatsApp a little bit, but probably shouldn't. But I probably will try to get people, if someone wants to communicate with me, then they just need to use Signal or something. I need to research the history. I think some system had a little bit strange history or something, but need to double check. Maybe it was Signal or something. Yeah, also, yeah, if this, was it a supplier or not? Not sure, was it written here, misconfigured, something here. Anyway, as I said, I want to go a little bit faster through the news, keep this way below 1 hour, and hopefully makes this here more useful for people even watching this as a podcast on the way to work or subway, commuting by car and whatever, get to sleep, you name it. Apple won't be appy. USB Supreme Court gives green light to massive lawsuit over App Store prices, and I totally welcome this. Of course, I can't be sure if this will be successful. I call this out here recurrently. I still have my local fight here. I made this video already, many videos, because this is completely hilarious what kind of unprofessional support you get there, run by non-amazing, what are they called, geniuses, so those Apple geniuses who know really nothing much. And I call this out. I will make a new video, so probably maybe not tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night or on Sunday or something. I will probably make a new video regarding App Store nonsense, because the support saga thereof incompetent and hilarious Apple emails continues. And this is of course my problem with this. We pay Apple 30%, which have been hundreds thousands of dollars over the last years, obviously. And I would rather have this hundreds thousands of dollars in my pocket to employ people in Europe, and not to pay Apple's Tim Apple and all their call center people underpaid in India or China. Of course, I would like to support people in India and China, just that in my opinion, I have nothing against those people getting a salary. I work with really great people in Taiwan and Russia and such. Not that the salary in Russia would be that low, but anyway, everyone deserves a fair income, and I'm more than happy to contribute to this, but I would rather like to spread the money myself and have competent people in my team to do really competent stuff, because all the big companies, Apple is not an exception, but Apple, Google, Microsoft, you name it, Facebook and whatnot, all of them have a work method, in my opinion, we'll probably make more videos about this, a really unhealthy and unproductive work methods with over-reporting and standard helpdesk text and you name it, without getting really much done. You will see when you see the next emails that I will probably publish here on YouTube with Apple support. It is hilarious. And yeah, and again, when we sell our exact scan, $99 plus minus a little bit depending on, Apple gets minus tax, minus VAT or plus depending on the countries, and Apple gets 30%. So Apple may get some nearly $30 for all our sales, which is crazy. What do they do for this? They do nothing. They force the store on us and all the other developers, and it's really like trolls there, this Monkey Islands trolls on the bridge that cash in there for everyone who wants to go through over there. And I think this is even a user who's used them now for having to be forced to pay there in the store and not at customers. Apple charges, blah blah blah, pure profit. Yeah, and it's mostly pure profit. I mean, people always, Apple fanboys always argue with me, but the running cost, you know what, the running costs are nothing. They are peanuts there in the pocket of Tim Apple. Basically, this is pure profit. And I mean, if you can't make amazing Macs anymore and your loyal fan base is migrating to ThinkPads, then you probably do something. And also from iPads to Samsung, amazing Galaxy phones here, you name it, then you need to rip off developers and users and cash in there just for not doing much. And yeah, I would rather, and there are so many issues. We can only set one price. I would rather set for the developed, for the BRIC countries, set there for the BRIC being in developing countries, and I would rather give them 50% off. I would with pleasure make the prices for India, China, Russia, Brazil, Africa. I would with pleasure charge them 50% less, but I can't in the App Store, and so on. And yeah, and I can't even get the updates to the users for months. It's getting hilarious. The system gets, instead of fixing something, you know, they add notarization and whatnot, and then they break stuff and they make new Xcode versions, and then the old versions don't work, or they break stuff left and right. In other news, Apple warns Creative Cloud users, probably just sitting next to people from Adobe in the ISO meeting. Not really sure if. Probably I should think now what I say here. That is a problem if you are, if you run an unsuccessful one-man Linux distribution, but otherwise have successful business contacts, then you need to be a little bit careful what you say here, not to burn some bridges. But Adobe warns creative users about old apps of legal problems, because apparently going forward, Creative Cloud users can download only the 2 most recent major versions. Of course, this is not very nice of Adobe, forcing people not to be able to use old versions. This is of course what I always call out. I don't like this cloud licensing and subscription, because then I would not be able to use old AutoCAD versions or old Acrobat. We have, of course, Acrobat versions, thankfully supplied from our friends there at Adobe even 10 years ago for our development of ExactScan and OCRKit and such. Adobe already supplied us with, not for resale, copies for PDF testing and certification and such. Thanks for that. It's good to have some contacts all over the world, but this licensing schemes, of course, probably speaking with this technical contacts there, they probably even would agree there at Adobe. If you speak with those people at Adobe and Apple, like real technical geniuses and not their support geniuses, they usually agree with me anyway and roll their eyes what their management is doing. Not that I would say that the people yesterday did this, but not that they did. Of course, they have not done this. The bosses of those. Not that I said no, of course the people yesterday did not roll. I did not even speak with them. I meant other things in general. Anyway, not that probably really need to be careful that people don't get trouble. Anyway, in other news, unable to connect. What is this here even? Right, this was why Linux on desktop failed. A discussion with Mark Thuttelberg. I have not watched this. Maybe I have a bus tour tomorrow. They told me the bus will have Wi-Fi. Let's see, because I can't. I have here shady European roaming here. I can't watch here. Anyway, had not even much time, so unfortunately I didn't. If this would be some text, I would have scrolled over this. I have no idea what he said. Unfortunately, had no time. If you want to watch this, one problem in my opinion that I contribute myself a little bit to is too many Linux distributions. I think if we would have 3 really good major distributions, then we may have some Linux distribution, of course, with a segmentation of 1,000 Linux distributions. But to be fair, in my opinion, when Rock Linux was new, when I joined Rock Linux, there were not so many distributions. And back in the day, there may have only been, I don't know, 20 or 50 or something. And that was in 1998. So much to contributing to that. Hey, oh, that was accidentally clicked there on the... Anyway. Just wanted to have here some scene change, that you have here something interesting. Anyway, leave me in the comments below what you think why desktop Linux failed. Of course, Mark Thuttelberg contributed here to the situation. Of course, he did not have to fork Debian into Ubuntu. Maybe he would have been more successful with a commercial support package thing of Debian, which of course Ubuntu is, but maybe the Debian thing as a whole, which by the way for me is not too bad because I don't like Debian. Can't fall in love with this, can't get used to it. But anyway, again, to be fair, when we did Rock Linux there back in the day, 1998, there were not so many. So in my opinion, not contributed the most to that situation. But yeah, the 1,000 distributions probably don't help. And not sure what other means he might say there. Someone in the comments I've just seen here is the Microsoft Office, which is of course one huge problem even for me now, because usually I don't use Microsoft Office in the ISO works there for the PDF standard. I now have to deal exceptionally with Microsoft Office, which the committee thankfully supplies me a cloud license with, because otherwise I would not spend a single of my hard-earned Canadian, US or Euro cents here for Microsoft licensing. But this is a real problem. This is also really dangerous that the Microsoft standard is, I think, probably an ISO standard, which gives them a good excuse to say it's an open format and people have to use it in companies, in governments, in the ISO standardization process. Totally not a fan of this. But yeah, whatever, maybe when I have time I come back and watch this. And as usual, totally interested to hear what you think. Leave this in the comments below, especially in this topic. Really interested what you have to say for this. Then, when engineers become whistleblowers, they're often the first to notice waste, fraud, and safety issues. Just like with Apple, I'm totally pissed with the App Store. It's a completely bullshit procedure. And then user fight with me on Twitter and Reddit that it's amazing, but don't believe when a developer says it's complete bullshit. You also have seen I pointed often out, this is of course, yes, the people who know the most, developers and engineers, if they know how stuff work, if they take stuff apart, they notice security issues and such, they repair something, they see something. Yeah, like the Boeing 737 MAX crash and so on. And yeah, this is really like Chelsea Manning getting there in whatever the specific legal terms are there. as if she has not already been enough in prison for her whistleblowing there. Totally not a fan of this, totally who call out completely illegal bullshit and wrongdoing of the government should not be punished like this, in my opinion. And yeah, we really need better support. I mean, especially in the USA, I think the situation is really not good, especially for this kind of calling it treason and such, calling out really like kind of war crimes and such. Not to get too much into this political discussion here today, but we make it a short one. Leave me in the comments below what you think. Always interested to hear. And as I said, I still try to experiment here with this format, and this week I got over here much more quickly, not only because I'm hungry and probably need a beer or something, jet lagged and whatnot, but also I figured this format is probably more valuable if we keep it shorter, because not only my time is valuable, I know your time is also valuable, and you probably don't want to watch 2 hours of nonsense discussions, so probably a 30-minute news segment is probably most valuable for everyone. But I would love eventually to make this more dynamic. Maybe even we will, by the way, continue to travel the world, so we will have some other news from somewhere else in the world the next weeks, because we have some other appointments. And last but not least, I would really like to make this here some open format and maybe even join this with other creators, with other users. So if you are interested to get together in Berlin, London, France, wherever, there will probably always be an opportunity to meet up. Also in general, if I travel somewhere, if along the line it is visible that I'm somewhere, you can always reach out to me to maybe meet up there locally, have a pizza or some water. Speaking of water, I, by the way, totally don't support this water here, although we support hydration, but really not support that this hotel here has this bloody Nestle Pure Life. Although, alright, I was so intelligent to switch to manual focus that now we have manual focus. So little shout out, because we have Friday for Futures. I've seen quite some reports, but don't quote me on this here of this Nestle. Can we also, anyway, you probably get the idea here. Not a paid advertisement, and I really don't like this, because I've seen some reports that they use a lot of local water that the local people use even in Africa. So I've seen they dehydrate their huge regions, and people in Africa don't even have something to drink anymore. And even I think even in France, I've seen a village in France has not enough local water because Nestle, for this bloody Pure Life water nonsense, is yeah. Anyway, normally I wouldn't buy this. It was here for free in the hotel room, so yeah, then the problem is tap water is a little bit clogged here. So anyway, little shout out, leave me in the comments below what you think about this Pure Life situation. Do you have inside knowledge? Have you seen the same reports? But in general, it's also not the right way to have bottled water. Maybe just make tap water more amazing. I'm really total fan of tap water in Germany, France, you name it. Especially in Germany, it's not so much chlorine. I really don't like this so much chlorine in the water here. Tastes a little bit chlorine, so yeah. But anyway, it should also not be that big mega corporations get all the water from the local people, and people in Africa sit there without water. That's really uncool. Last but not least, the Chinese lunar rover there on the far side. If you have not realized this, this is of course the difference with news. If NASA or ESA or something shoots somewhere something, then it's in the news all over, SpaceX, NASA, you name it. But if the Chinese have success, then you barely read about this. And yeah, so they landed a lunar rover there on the far side of the moon. If you didn't know, the moon is, by the way, what is it called? It's locked. Forgot the term. Something like, is it tidal locked, or what was the name for that? Let me quickly Google that. That means what I didn't know for the first years of my life is that the moon is not rotating. Actually, naturally, I thought the moon is rotating, but it isn't. And moon lock, what is the name for that? The tidal lock, which actually is what I said. Let's see if that really is the case. So yeah, so there's a far side and a far side because it's not rotating. So There is one side that is always not visible from Earth, which is pretty fascinating. Did not naturally expect it to be like this. Is it tidal locked or not? Let's see. Tidal lock results moon rotating about the axis, and gravitational lock, and yeah, gravitational lock occurs when long-term interaction between pairs of co-orbiting astronomical bodies drives the rotation rate of at least one of them, blah blah blah. And yeah, whatever. If you know, if you're under this, leave me more comments below. Anyway, so they posted here some new stuff because this is a change for mission or whatever. Actually, I wonder that they call it for because E or some. I saw in Chinese it's E. I probably pronounce it completely wrong. Sorry for the people in the Chinese audience, but I would be totally amazing if you share, like, and subscribe, and probably all Chinese subscribers. So E.R. Sun, I'm sorry for the pronunciation. So E.R. Sun, damn, it's a long time I learned Chinese. Anyway, something like the or so, and whatever, sorry for the pronunciation. And the same word is for, and I think death or something, which is why many buildings or many historic buildings or something didn't have the fourth floor in China. Actually, I'm surprised they call this 4 here, as they usually try to avoid this. Anyway, have found material excavated from frozen magma oceans far below the lunar surface, which is of course amazing. I mostly call this out for awareness here of non-US space exploration. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this news. I hope you enjoyed going more quickly through this. I hope you learned something, if not from all security vulnerabilities and such, and at least that the moon is in tidal gravitational lock, and that the Chinese moon mission is ongoing. As always, it was amazing to chat and hang out with you, and I hope you not only enjoy here live streams from the other side of the world, but also in different time zones for the recurring subscribers and international subscribers. I hope you like this, share this, and subscribe, and stay tuned for all the other technical videos to come. Probably App Store nonsense, and also PCI, Word.io, more vintage stuff. And also, by the way, the ThinkPad is amazing. It has here, I'm actually surprised it didn't crash, because I have an uptime of quite some days. Just here is on Linux, so I have an uptime of 3 days. By the way, it could be in the camera here. So I multiply. By the way, this SSIDs are probably all the hotels, so they are not mine. So here, amazing stuff here that I'm, thanks to Lenovo, thanks for not really sponsoring this, but at least loaning us this unit here for 4.5 weeks. Totally amazing. Not really sure if they thought that I travel the world with it, but thanks anyway. And for this they get a special shout out for this is really amazing. It has it has a programming, editing, source code and compile time battery life of over 10 hours, which is amazing. Certainly more than my aging Retina MacBook Pro, and also it is more compact, more lightweight than my aging Retina MacBook Pro. It fits better on the economy class airplane seats that I usually travel, because we are poor, unsuccessful open source developers. We cannot travel business class like Casey Neistat or other successful YouTubers. And yeah, so battery life is amazing. It suspends here, and it has a super high, in the meantime, super high suspend count of, was it proc, was this probably this power wake up or something, wake up count. So it has a wake up count of 36,877. Not really sure why, because I have only suspended it like 10 times or something. So it's, I need to further research this. It could be that this is this new generation of connected standby, that it's not even supporting classic standby to memory, and only because that is the case with the Microsoft Surface. It's of course, as usual, I want to end the stream and the most people tune in, but we can, probably not enough water or something, or too long talk. So the Surface doesn't support, Microsoft Surface does not support classic suspend to memory and only to freeze, meaning that the CPU is waking up more often from interrupts like Wi-Fi and such. Microsoft is doing this because they want this connected standby, that your Outlook fluff is already loading emails in the background. I don't like this at all. I also don't like that the hardware is not supporting this anymore. If you want non-connected standby for even longer standby time, then you can't have it. And in earlier Linux kernels, this was differentiated in this power state, I guess. This is what this freeze thing is doing, but I think probably some distributions were incompatible. I think they changed this, that even if MIM is not supported, they now fake this here, and on those connected standby machines, they then only freeze instead of suspending to memory, which I don't like, because due to this you can't see now what it is using there, unless do we have here support, ACPI support for something, maybe S3 or whatever this might be, S2 or whatnot, module, S1D, whatever the sleep states are. Need to research this. You probably maybe can see this somewhere in, I don't know, what is it, proc ACPI, and then sleep states or whatnot, I don't know. By the way, would this be in here for wake up? But anyway, also would need to check which of those is S3, S4, but anyway, because I'm not really sure why the wake up count is so high. I would only expect the wake up count to be so high if this is connected standby. But anyway, need to research this. Anyway, despite this wake up count of 30,000 whatsoever, it is so far running without an issue. You have seen uptime of 3 days or whatsoever. Basically, probably something like since Monday, so can't complain. Completely amazing machine, totally love to work on it, and can recommend this. Anything else newsworthy? I think, by the way, the connected, when I wake this up after this memory standby thing, whatever the case is, then I have a estimated runtime of battery time of 3 days, so probably you can suspend this to memory, whatever connected or classic memory thing this is. Amazing. Probably longer than an iBook back in the day, 15 years ago. Anyway, so far it works. So if you suspend this, you can leave it on the desk for 3 days, travel with this for 3 days, unless you use it, of course, and otherwise, battery life 10 times, of course, if you don't watch a YouTube video, and of course with a little bit brightness down, which I usually down a little bit there for work anyway, unless it is in plain sunshine. And I hope you learned something and enjoyed. By the way, one more call out. I nearly traveled without a power adapter here because I wanted to leave this big thing here at home from Lenovo here. And thanks God I tested this at home, because I only wanted to travel with a 16 or 19 watt or something Samsung S10 charger, which is also, by the way, USB-C. And for the Lenovo, the cheap Lenovo L390 Yoga that I had the week before, that worked. You could charge, I think I mentioned this in the review, you could charge the smaller Lenovo L390 with the Samsung 16, 19, whatever that was, charger. Inconvenient, I wish. The biggest thing is I wish this would be smaller, because that is consuming a little bit much space. Unnecessary, in my opinion. Lenovo, I think you need to work on this. Of course, otherwise USB-C, you can buy some generic thing there using our affiliate links on all the videos, in case you want to use Amazon. Also, otherwise we support local stores, of course, but if you already order something from Amazon, there are affiliate links. And that is the only good thing of all those USB chargers, but of course it's not amazing that it is so big out of the box. And so you need to be careful if you travel. Check that if you use some aftermarket alternative phone charger, check that this really charges, because otherwise I would be sitting here in North America without a charger. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this useful, the use, the security vulnerabilities, and the ThinkPad travel update here. And I hope to see you soon for all the next videos and such to come.